Deja vu.
Hi guys. So you've heard from these gentlemen sequentially, and now we get to all talk together about things we all have in common, which is media. Although I have to say, from the media that I participated in for 30 years was media that was made with a dead tree mostly, and assumed a certain amount of editorial authoritarianism, right? So we, in print, and then subsequently, of course, in digital, video, social, but we were the editors speaking to the audience. And one of the things I think is so fascinating about the future of media is what a conversation it has become. But I'm going to start this conversation with a very big, broad question. In the magazine world, before I exited, I was part of a group that was called the American Society of Magazine Editors, and we spent a lot of time saying, what is a magazine? Because it became actually unclear. And so I would love to start with the question, like, what is to you, media, food and cooking media? Like, what does that even mean right now to you?
So I like to start with sort of distilling the word media down to medium. And video is a medium, right? Text is a medium. And when I think of mediums, it goes from video, photographs, but also now to sensory mediums, like some stuff I talked about where you can have information in your hands or knowledge in your hands. And for me, even that is a medium. So is if someone's in Tokyo right now, you're here, and you're able to be with them, coexist with them. That's a medium. It's a medium of being alive, and a medium of being able to real time communicate in different body sensorial ways. So for me, I always think of medium as the if you will, a very bad example, a hot dog casing. The casing is like the medium, and what's inside is the media. So could be hot dogs, could be anything.
Yeah. My answer is not nearly as sophisticated. I think it's an interesting moment where media is evolving. When we look particularly at the food space, we see that there's this ocean of content that's traditionally existed that is instruction, and it's for the utility of cooking. It's sheet music in a way. And there's another ocean of content that's entertainment related to food and cooking. It's not really for cooking, it's for watching. And the thing that we're doing in particular is trying to be both of those things, is sort of synthesize the two. And that seems to be what's happening, I think, with the sort of splintering of the audience and all of these distribution platforms. There's a type of cooking media for anyone. If you want to cook something really fast, there's a great asset for you. If you want to learn the life story of an extraordinary chef, there's a great one for you, and everything in between. So now it's sort of all in everything, for better or worse.
Well, first of all, Dana, I just want to say you and I have had the pleasure of knowing each other for well over 25 years now. And it's so amazing to sit on with you a panel yet again. We've done this a couple of times, and it's probably I almost want to flip the question and ask that to you, because as a tastemaker, / kingmaker in the food media world for so long, you could sort of kind of sort through people and kind of rank them in a way and kind of put them in a very interesting position where they were the best of the best of the best, right? And you had your panel of people that were mercenaries in a way, right? Mercenaries of cool, mercenaries for the authentic, mercenaries for the real.
Emissaries.
Right, and really kind of bringing a national and international audience an insight into a small corner of the country or the world that they may not know about in a way. And I think that insight of like the story that's in your mind and the story that's in your mind of your editorial board has now become a tool that I think media is really a window, I think it's a window of the authentic. And depending on, and I don't think it really matters how lush the content is anymore, to be honest with you, right? Like, story is king. To me, the authentic story that you can see, like my daughter is 10 years old, and she has a slime company. I don't know if you guys have little girls, or do you know what slime? You know what slime is? I don't know what this stuff is, but it's like this goop that you can make, and there's a recipe for it. But there's a whole like genre of this like slime videos that people are making, and the content just performs so incredibly well on platforms like YouTube. Like, as a matter of fact, the whole like how-to genre of YouTube videos outranks anything that we do on Food Network or any kind of cookbook sales volume or anything, because the idea of sharing something that I'm doing in front of me with an audience, there's always an audience for that. There's always, if you go on YouTube, you'll never find a video that's never had one view, right? You'll never find a video. Every video's had at least one view. And so there's an audience for everybody, right? So I just think story is king. And this is what, so my daughter, who's 10, has a YouTube channel where she makes slime. And I've taught her how to shoot and edit her own videos, right? So she's too young for a phone. But I got her an iPod that has iMovie, and I got her a Joby Gorilla Pod that's got like a little sort of cell phone clamp on it, and I've taught her how to create this like very simple lighting rig, and she does it all herself, and she shoots video, and she edits video, and she publishes video, and it's very, very, very interesting in a way, right? And she's 10. She's 10 years old. So the idea of like watching content through the lens of somebody, we're almost at this point where, you know, like the Snapchat glasses, those are kind of like invasive in a way because you knew somebody was like recording you in a way. But what's happening on the other side of those glasses, I think that's the really interesting lens that I think gets the most traction. Like, I want to see what your world looks like. And then inside this like new democracy where it's like everybody puts video up and then the good stuff climbs to the top, the cream always rises to the top. That to me is so fascinating because in the media world, and I live in the media world all the time, I pitch stuff that gets rejected all the time. But it's just a numbers game, right? It's just a numbers game. But think about how many good ideas have been rejected.
So wait, if I understand what you're saying, I think what you're saying is that I'm asking a question about food media, and there's some food media that's controlled, like it's created by entertainment companies, it's created by stars. But I think you're also saying that if you look at food media today, the world is creating. So it could be your 10-year-old daughter, and so the means of being in food media are completely distributed. So that not only is there the excellence in, let's say, your Food Network, your Project Foodie, your AR version of it, but it surrounds us and is all around us. And so you can't even distinguish between, what would have been called food media and what today is ubiquitous. Is that?
It is, because the story is more important than anything else. The story is more important than the distribution channel. The story is more important than the camera that you use or how slick the editing is, right? The story is everything, right? And that's what I like about it. So to me, to answer your question, I think media today is just merely a window. Like, there's no difference between the phone in your pocket, the tablet in your bag, and the TV on your wall. It's all just another window, in a way, to go see something that's incredibly authentic. And that's what I like about where we are in the media world right now. The authenticity is so real. Sometimes a little too real, right? But the idea, like, you're watching something that either just happened or somebody who's like doing something so unique and different that in a traditional media format, they would have never climbed up and gotten anyone's attention ever. Right? And now you're seeing this obscure person kind of blow up for something that they're doing, like sitting in their living room, right? And I think it's so amazing.
I'm curious, if you take the notion of food media and then you project it onto the kitchen, and if you think of the kitchen as the new media room, right? Because the old media room, which exists in many houses, many places, there's seats and you watch something in front of you. But when I hear today, and yesterday. I think about the kitchen as the new media room. If there's an appliance that's a screen and you have an app that's a screen, when you think about the kitchen and food media, is the story as important? Like you're teaching how to, you have personalities. For you, is it about the story or the teaching? Because I've heard so much about one of the impediments to people actually using their kitchens is understanding how to cook. And then one of the solutions of getting people to cook is to teach them and walk along with them. Both of you have solutions to the non-cook.
You're also talking about, I think you're both talking about the selfie generation that's interested in an experience and putting themselves on the screen. They're not so much interested in watching someone else on the screen. And so they're going to go to a restaurant and they're going to post the great photo of the beautiful dish that they're eating, that they went to, that they've curated for their feed, or the video of them making slime brilliantly with professional
She's really
lighting.
good. She's really good.
So I think there's something, I think the kitchen is I think what we're talking about is enabling people to be the star of their kitchen, and so it's a little bit more participatory than passive. And so in the living room you sit passively. In the kitchen you might be up on your feet, you might be doing, you might be the star in some way, and it might be a performance that lives beyond a screen. It's an experience you're having enabled by media.
But are you thinking about that person when you're creating, you and your amazing brother Daniel, who I love, are you thinking about that person being the star, or are you thinking about, I've created something seamless to make this easy for you to feel comfortable cooking?
We're making experience entertainment. The focus is on the person who is participating, and this enables them to do it, and we're allowing you to do something that's powered by media. It's powered both by media, but also by the appliances in your kitchen and the ingredients in your refrigerator. That's how we're looking at it. Because as consumers, that's what we want to be empowered. We want to learn. We want to be better. We want to have a richer life.
But you also want to be entertained, right? I love the fact that you can edit it so that you can be just entertained, or you can be just instructed, or you can get them at the same time, which I think is so incredibly important, to not lose the piece of it that is actually delightful.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great word.
I think you might expect me to be the last person who would say this, but I'm extremely technology agnostic. What I mean by that is I don't think we should ever think about technology as a driving force for food experiences, for recording and sharing our experiences, because these keep changing all the time. But one North Star that I think of all the time when I think of food media, especially if a kitchen is the media, my parents, because both of them are amazing cooks. That's where I learned cooking from. And I always imagine if I could upload my mom and dad onto the cloud, and if they could be with me the way they taught me, which was not through a video, but through a live experience. There was a multi-sensorial experience where I was able to smell it. There was no measurements. It was very natural and sort of more human. So I think bringing that sort of awareness, mindfulness into the kitchen media. End of the day, I think cooking is also meditative, right? It's a lovely act where it's probably the oldest human thing which involves all five senses. You can see your food, you can smell your food, you can taste your food, you can hear your food cooking, and of course you can taste it. So there's something beautiful about creation and cooking, and something we do 3 times a day. And I think of it as, yes, there are, we could have videos, live streams, maybe now our kitchen's live stream and all of that. But a counterpoint to technology would be, how do you get your mom or dad into the kitchen media while they're not there? And it's beyond Skype, it's beyond those things. It could also be active in the sense that you can hear them, feel them, touch something that they're making. But it could also be very passive. It could be, like my mom used to cook this Indian curry, and she would have this this bin which had 10 different spices, and she would mix them up like a magic trick, and I would never understand how she's mixing them without really measuring them. but it always turned out to be fabulous. So if there's something passive in your spice box, in your spice rack, that to me is also media, a medium containing knowledge over time, over distance.
I like the notion of the media could be aroma, or the media could be memory. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to activate this storytelling and bring it out of what we know. I mean, if you think about print, we thought that, like recipes in print, that was so useful. Now we're in this in-between stage. But if you future cast, what is the most far-out thing that could be media that would delight and engage people? And certainly, the media being aroma that's shared, or something like that, which is what you were talking about.
Yeah, I think we can totally trip out on out there things in future of food. One thing that I always conceptually, I still haven't been able to grapple my idea and head around it. But what if food was alive? Which food is alive, I mean. But there are foods like bread where you make them alive with yeast, and then there are foods which you kill plants and meat, and then you consume dead food. So, is there a way where we're just not the actor in cooking, but it's a collaboration with the food?
This is what I think is really interesting, because this is where we are right now, right? So if you walk into the kitchen and the same scenario gets played hundreds of millions of times in every household in America every night of the week, ham omelets for dinner, right? And that's a pinch point, right? That a lot of people are really trying to creatively solve. And I think what is going to be developed is sort of like the KOS, right? The kitchen operating system, in a way, that I think really starts with pantry management. Stick with me for a second, 'cause I think this is very, very interesting, right? So if you have 200 items in your pantry and your refrigerator, the modern technology is to get a notification when your toast is ready, right? That's the modern interpretation of the iOS kitchen of the future, right? The Internet of Things, right? But I think the next level of this is actually giving, the 200 inanimate objects that are in your pantry and your refrigerator and your bread box a voice, right? So because through artificial intelligence, a bag of lentils, right? I mean, really think about your pantry, how long things have been in there, right? You've got a bag of beans that really looked like a good idea a year ago, and you can't get rid of them because their dried beans are not going to go anywhere, but those beans are just screaming to be used. What if those lentils could speak to the ginger that's in a bowl on your countertop, and could speak to the coconut milk that's in your pantry, that could speak to the chili, and so these things can speak to each other in concert. So instead of having the ham omelets for dinner, the kitchen of the future will tell you what you can cook based on what you already have on hand. So these ingredients, like, this is the technology of the future that I think, like, pantry management is where it's all going to go down, right? Like that's the purchasing opportunity of the future, right? Where someone can make a great decision on restocking an entire pantry, where they can use things, but the idea of having all the ingredients, like if you had a $9 loaf of bread that you bought at the farmer's market, right? And then that loaf of bread would send you a notification or something through this kitchen operating system and say, listen, dude, I love you. I cost $9. I'm a $9 loaf of bread. I've got beautiful grapes and walnuts, right? And I'm not going to be any good tomorrow, right? So based on my other buddies that are in the kitchen right now, here's the aged white cheddar that's in the fridge, right? That garlic aioli that we have,
that's
like
one heck of a smart
that onion jam that's in the fridge, right? Like, we all can make this really fabulous grilled cheese sandwich. So you get that, and you get use out of that $9 purchase. So that, to me, is where I think the kitchen of the future will really kind of connect and kind of keep people cooking more and throwing out less food, right?
Yeah, food waste is obviously a gigantic issue. Eli, you're nodding.
I'm vigorously nodding, because you're
Yes.
a chef. My little brother's a chef, and that's what he can do. He would, all through growing up, he could look at an empty pantry and a dingy refrigerator and go,
party trick.
I got this, guys.
It's a party trick.
And you go like, no, he doesn't. And the next thing you know, you're all huddled around, and he's made something delicious. And you can do that, and the technology will enable all of us to do that, which will cut down on waste and allow us to have a better experience. That's it. And that's really attainable, whereas some of the other stuff is a little, it's the Jetsons. It's a little further out there. But this one's around the corner. This one's happening. It's just a question of of all of you harnessing your and working together. But that's incredibly exciting.
I'm curious because there's lots of smart appliances that have a lot of recipes built into them, but they don't have personality built into the recipes because they're it's not thought of in that way. What do you think of appliances? What do you think of appliance companies being content creators in this new food media?
Yeah, I like it. Siri or Alexa or Hal. We can go a little sideways there. I think it's good. I think it makes for a more rich experience. The human being as dongle. If we're going to be this intermediary between various forms of technology for a result, making it enjoyable for us, making it engaging, it really will help us do a better job. And so I actually think it's critical. I think things being dull or uninteresting and basic, that there's a certain type of person that likes, I just don't give me anything but the most pure basic, my brother's like that, ingredients. But for the rest of us, I think, romance us a little, make it interesting, make it fun, and give us some of that nuance. I think it's critical.
Siri has a personality. I mean, if you ask Siri what's 0 plus 0, that's a funny story. Google it. Ask Siri what's 0 plus 0 when you get time. You can program this kind of technology to sort of interact with you in a way that it feels like you're being entertained. Like there's someone in the house. It's not so clinical or technical. It's actually personal. And artificial intelligence is climbing that way.
I think that brings me to another point, which is when you make media that's set, how do you approach personalization, right? Because the future of food is personalized, clearly, but how does the media that you guys are making deal with that inevitability?
I think one thing is that when we think of companies, like we also talked about earlier, being content creators, I think the biggest role companies can play, which is much more important than content creation, is being able to set a template. What I mean by that is, if you look at Wikipedia, Jimmy Wales didn't go and write all the Wikipedia pages, but he created a template which allowed everyone else, a system which allowed everyone else to come and contribute. So more than being content creators, it would be amazing if companies focus on what is the right vehicle, what is the right, not just box and upload images and videos, but in a way where it's effortless, where it's just a byproduct. You cook something and a byproduct of that is the recipe has already been done and it's already out there. So I definitely feel like end of the day you want to make everyone a content creator.
Yeah, I think that the platforms have to evolve. I mean, to do what Tyler's describing, the platform, it's not just linear. It needs to be able to slice it up and put it back together based on what's in your pantry. And so that's incumbent on all of us to figure out. And that's the next challenge, how to do that seamlessly, creatively, with the personality. We're working on it.
Okay, that was such a beautiful summary, and we were completely out of time. Actually, we were like plus a little time. So thank you very much, and a hand for these fascinating...
Dana Cowin, everybody. Will you please give Dana Cowin a round of applause? Dana Cowin, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you.